Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 29th of November and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, in the today's video, we are going to discuss the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper. We'll take the articles, we'll simplify them, and along with the background and the way forward, we are going to discuss the articles. Now, before starting, I would like to tell you that you can download these synoptic notes. In these synoptic notes, we have simplified and had provided in a detailed way all the notes or all the articles that have come into the newspaper. Even the editorial has also been included in these synoptic notes, and in the last there is a mains practice question that has been given. You can download these notes from the Telegram channel, and the link for the Telegram channel has been given in the description box in YouTube. Moreover, if you want, you can directly visit the Telegram and can search there the channel by typing Thinking Palette by Sahil. Now, before moving on, we will be taking up the overview of the newspaper so that you can understand the relative placement of the articles and you also get an idea that which articles are important for the exam. So, the first article, anguish over the NJAC order behind posting delays, Supreme Court. So guys, we have seen this particular article a couple of number of times. Basically, NJAC stands for the National Judicial Appointment Commission. So National Judicial Appointment Commission was constituted as a body by the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act to appoint the Supreme Court judges, High Court judges, as well as to suggest the transfer of the High Court judges. But this particular body was declared as unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. Okay. And now the Supreme Court is saying that now the government is not appointing the judges to the Supreme Court, the collegium's decisions are not being cleared because the government is angry over the NJAC order that has been there. Is it clear or not? So this is something that is going on. However, guys, in this particular direction, nothing substantial has come in this particular direction. Just the Supreme Court had said that the government is angry over the NJAC order of the Supreme Court. Then further moving on, after that, the articles are not important, political articles etc. has been there, fine. Now this article is important. Radio telescope floating into the Karnataka waters throws lights onto the nature of early stars. We'll see this particular article. Then guys, going on in the city section, so there are city section, the regional crime related, political related news are mainly filled here. If you are having some different editions in your newspaper, there will also be other political news etc. Now they are not very much important for the examination, fine. Then guys, moving on, High Court stays construction in Nainital as Google shows shrinking green cover. Okay, so guys, we see this particular thing that the construction activities fine have hampered. Okay, and in this particular direction, activism have been shown fine where High Court had stayed the construction. However, you don't need to go too much into the detail in this particular article, fine. Then further moving on, after that other issues, fine, regional issues etc. have been given. Moving on, directly we reach to the editorial page. Still a nightmare for domestic violence survivors. We'll see this particular article. Same rights. Now this particular article, guys, are talking about the LGBT marriage and such kind of an issues. Now we'll see this particular article. On this particular line, even in the text and the context page, one article has been given. So we'll take that particular thing. Then loss and damage decision, pitfalls and promises. We'll see this particular article. It talks about the COP27, the loss and damage fund that has been announced. We'll take that. Now the article is talking about the China must complete full vaccination and end the zero COVID policy. So the China has the zero COVID policy where even if there is a small spike, they go under a complete lockdown. Because of that thing, now the students are protesting, people are frustrated. So the article is saying that they should focus on vaccination and should end that policy. However, for the examination, you don't need to go too much in the detail in this particular article. Khula ties the Muslim clerics in knots. Okay, so guys, this article is talking about that what is the clerics, what is the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, and such kind of an issues have been there. Now this article has a little bit of a religious inclination, not important therefore for the examination. Okay guys, so no need to go too much into the detail. The math behind BJP's turncoat strategy into the Gujarat, political article not needed for the exam. Coming to the text and the context, how FIFA is using the South for offside decisions. Now this article is good article. We'll see this particular article with respect to the examination. How was Google sued for location tracking practices? So guys, the article is talking about that what had happened recently. A case has been filed on the Google. Recently a case have been filed onto the Google. Why? Because Google was tracking the locations of the people even when the people have turned off the tracking. Still the Google was tracking the people's locations and was using that particular data to provide the targeted advertisement. Okay, because of that particular thing on the Google, the case has been filed. Okay, so in the USA, the Google has been filed a case and $391 million into the damages have been asked. Now you don't need to go and need to track this particular case, that how many millions of the fines have been imposed, okay, in the US, in which state the case have been filed. No need to go into that much of a detail. Then guys, moving on. After that, in India, calls for looking beyond the binary are growing faster. So this stronger, this article is talking about the section 377's decriminalization and consequently the basically recognition of the marriages for the same sex couple. We'll see this particular article. Then further moving on, India France discusses defense industrial ties. We'll see this particular article with respect to the examination. Mumbai tops in the sale of polls. Okay, so this article is talking about the electoral bond and the trends. We'll see this particular article. Then Canada says India is a crucial partner. So this article talks about the Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy that has been released. We'll see this particular article. Then after that, the political news has been filled in this particular page. No need to go. Right to religion does not include the right to convert, the Home Ministry tells the court. So basically guys, when we talk about the right to religion, okay, right to religion has been given as a fundamental right under the article number 25 to 28. Particularly article 25 talks about the right to propagate the religion. Okay, now when we talk about the propagation of the religion, right to conscience, profess, propagate religion has been given, but it doesn't includes the right to, but it does not includes the right to convert. Is it clear or not? So this is something that has been thread many number of times. There are the fraudulent conversions that are being carried. Then moving on, central plans to document culture, the social practices of tribal people. We'll see this particular article as what the article is talking about. Then after that, the articles, okay, two detained after Mehrauli murder case, not important. Then and the prosecutions of Assange media organization tells US. Then guys, further moving on, China's zero COVID policies, Ukraine on the edge needs the humanitarian support. Fine. So guys, these are the evolutionary details that are coming. UK to strengthen ties with the Europe, India, Pacific. Fine. Prime Minister Sunak. Then SBI had projected the Q2 GDP growth at 5.8%. So guys, if you are following the newspaper analysis regularly, multiple number of times we have seen that there are the estimates, there are the forecast given by the different agencies. Sometimes the forecasts are being given by the World Bank, some by the credit rating agencies, and now the SBI had given the Q2 GDP forecast. Now, are you required to just mug up all these particular data? No guys. Why? Because this is just the Q2 GDP estimate that has been given. Moreover, understand that it highly depends on to the present state of Indian economy. Okay, the moment this present state of Indian economy will change, these particular numbers will also change. So no need to go too much into these kind of details. Then further moving on. Okay, after that, trade unions want center to restore old pension scheme. Then the jet revival has been mentioned, not important article with respect to the examination. Okay, then after that, the next is the sports page that we have. So that is all guys about the overview of the newspaper, and now let's discuss all the relevant and important articles which have some importance for the exam one by one in the detail. And before moving on guys, if you have not liked the video, please do hit the like button. Now before starting up, we'll be taking up the GS quotation. And guys, today we are going to take the quotation from the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the chief architect of the Indian Constitution. Dr. Ambedkar says, so long as you do not achieve the social liberty, whatever freedom is provided by the law is of no avail to you. So when we talk about the social liberty, okay, basically every person, irrespective of their caste, irrespective of their gender, irrespective of their religion, needs to be given the liberty to make the life choices, to make the life deliberations. If the social liberty is not there, the democracy will be useless, democracy will be meaningless, and the laws will not be able to bring any substantial change. So as we talk about the social liberty guys, even we find still that people on the basis of caste, they are restricted in avenues of education, they are restricted to make meaningful choices. So social liberty is important for realizing the goal of the political democracy. Fine. So this is guys the idea. We can use it in GS paper number 2, GS paper number 2, GS paper number 2. That is the issues related to the constitution, governance, polity, etc. Now moving on. So guys, first article that we have taken is from the text and the context. The text and the context. How FIFA is using the SOUT for offside decisions. Now guys, similar kind of a question has been asked, not exactly on the FIFA, but a couple of years back there was a question that was asked, and the question was that how silicon tape on the bat is used to fool the DRS system in the cricket. Okay, so that particular question came because in that year, find that issue was into the news. So now the SOUT technology of the FIFA is being there, and we'll discuss that. Now this particular article we will see with respect to the GS paper number 3, fine, science and technology in the sports. Okay, now before going on, just little bits basic things I want to tell you guys. Right now the FIFA World Cup is going on. And in order to enhance the accuracy of decisions in the FIFA World Cup, the technological solutions in the form of the SOUT are being implemented. So we'll understand that what is this entire technology all about. So first of all guys, let me give you little bit of the context, and the context goes something like this, that as the FIFA 2022 World Cup has been started, so as the opening match was going on between the Qatar and the Ecuador, so the Ecuador's forward player, that is the Ener Velasias, headed strike was disallowed. It was disallowed. Why? Because it was found that the lower half of his right leg was in the offside position, and because of the offside position, that particular strike got disallowed. Now this particular observation was just made in the few seconds. Now what has amazed the people is that how in very small, how very swiftly such a deep observation has been made. Now when we talk about guys the football match, already into the football match there is the video assistant referee technology that is being used. Now what is the video assistant referee technology? The entire match is being videographed, and if there is any discrepancy, if there is any decision that is to be made, basically on the basis of those video evaluations the decisions are given. So that is something video assistant referee technology, which is a very old thing. There it is already into the football, but now a kind of a new technology has been integrated, that is the semi-automated offside technology. And this semi-automated offside technology has made the refereeing decisions, had made the review of the football even more swift and even more fast. Now what is this entire system? We'll understand this. So basically this semi-automated offside technology has two parts. Number one, the first part of this technology is that there is a sensor that has been placed into the match ball. So the Adidas's El Rihla, the match football, within this football there is a sensor that has been placed, and it is held together by the suspension technology. Now what it means? So here if you see closely, within the football there is this particular sensor, and this particular sensor has tied with these strings, and by the suspension it is held into that place. Now whenever this particular football will be kicked, this particular football will detect the ball movement. Now guys, this particular technology, sensor technology, has been developed by a German company by the name of the Nixon, and this particular football will provide the precise positional data. So on the field, at which particular place, at which particular position the football is resting, where it got kicked, in which direction it moved, so that entire positional data will be transmitted by this particular sensor in the real time basis. Is it clear or not? And basically there is a kind of a three-dimensional image, which is also mapped, and that three-dimensional image shows all the patterns of the movement of the football. That is something that is happening. And as I told you that this information is being sent into the real time, a very high frequency information, for example 500 frames per second are being given. Now guys, 500 frames per second. Okay, so now guys, see this thing very simply, I'll explain you. When we talk about video, what is a video? Video is nothing but video is just the amalgamation of many photographs which are being changed at a very fast interval. Okay, so in 1 second, how many frames, how many pictures you see? It can be 25 frames per second, it can be 50 frames per second, it can be 100 frames per second. More the frames, more less the interval will between there in different photographs, and better the accuracy if you want to detect anything. Okay, and if you want to check millisecond by millisecond information, you need to have more frames per second. More the frame, the better, if any such deep inspection is to be done. And here 500 frames per second information is being shared real time by this particular sensor. Just to put the things into the perspective, right now this video referee technology that is being used, it just gives the 50 frame per second videography. In comparison to that, it is a 10 times better. Moreover guys, apart from this sensor, just a minute, apart from this sensor that is there, there is also the 12 hawk eye cameras that are deployed throughout the stadium, which are keeping regular tab on the movement of the players. They are shadowing all the players. Okay, and 29 separate points into the human body, they are tracked by these 12 hawk eye cameras. Their elbows, their knees, their legs, 29 crucial body points are identified. And what happens by these hawk eye cameras, and by the information that is being sent by the sensor, this entire information together, it is fed into the computer in a strong artificial intelligence program. Okay, so what has happened? So together the ball sensor as well as the hawk eye cameras, they are sending their information into a computer program which is fed by the strong artificial intelligence, and it generates the alerts, it generates the prompts for the officials. And this technology together is called as the SAOT, that is the semi automated offside technology. And by this particular technology, in few seconds the decisions are being given, and this has made refereeing as very effective into the football. Now guys, as I have told you that this is very effective, so I told you that data transmission rate is 500 frames per second or 500 megahertz. Right now it is just 50 hertz. Okay, 50 hertz, not, I've used the word megahertz, not megahertz, hertz. So right now the video referee technology is just sending the 50 frames per second, and by that particular thing the information is very precise. This technology was already tested in 2021 FIFA Arab Cup in Qatar, as well as in 2021 FIFA Cup World Cup in the Abu Dhabi. Now this particular decision will also be used by the coaches to study the movement of the players, and will be able to generate a lot of data. And on that particular basis of the data, the coaches, they can do a tactical analysis, they can study the athlete's performance, they can identify the weak areas of the footballers, can identify the new budding football players, find who had really some good talent. So this particular information will also be used for the sports analysis. Okay, that is something. So this is guys the entire issue. I hope that you have understood this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Radio telescope floating in Karnataka water throws lights on nature of early stars and galaxies. Now, this particular article. Okay, guys, this particular article, first of all, the FIFA article can be important for the prelims examination also, because the question in science and technologies are quite rampant. Then, this particular article also will see with respect to the prelims examination as well as GS paper number 3 science and technology. GS paper number 3 science and technology. Now, basically, guys, here you can see one photograph. Now this photograph is the photograph of the Saras 3, okay, which is a radio telescope, and this Saras 3 radio telescope is floating onto the Sharavati river. Now Sharavati river is in Karnataka. Okay, and this radio telescope is into the news because it has provided the crucial information with respect to the cosmic mysteries of the world. So we'll see that what has happened. Now, first of all, guys, when we talk about the Saras 3, it is a radio telescope which has been designed by the Raman Research Institute, and it is providing the information about the cosmic dawn. Now, first of all, understand the word cosmic dawn. What is this cosmic dawn? So, we know this particular thing, that the universe was not in existence before the Big Bang theory. So 1.3 billion years back, the Big Bang happened. And after the Big Bang, the brief period just after the Big Bang, that is the period of 200 million, it is called as the cosmic dawn. and in that particular thing, how the celestial bodies were formed, how the gases were formed, and how that particular gas is further converged. This entire period is very crucial, okay, for understanding the evolution of the universe. So entire study about just the those 200 billion years after the Big Bang, it is called as the cosmic dawn studies, and that period is called as the cosmic dawn. Fine. Now, this particular radio telescope has been deployed over the Dandi Ganali Lake and Shravati backwaters or Shravati rivers, which are both into the Karnataka. And since 2020, it has been placed there, and it is giving crucial information. Now, by that particular thing, the scientists are able to, astrophysicists, they are able to determine the properties of the radioluminous galaxies, the galaxies that were formed just after the 200 million years. Fine, that information has been given. Now, the Saras III Telescope, it is providing the crucial insight into the properties of the earliest galaxies. Fine, the supermassive black holes, okay, that were usually powered by the supermassive black holes. Okay, moreover, this particular Saras III radio telescope has also provided the information that less than 3% of the gaseous matter within early galaxies was converted into the stars. Just 3% of the gaseous matters got converted into the stars. Okay, and the earliest galaxies were bright in radio emissions. Fine, were also strong in X-rays. Fine, which heated the cosmic gas around the galaxies. So these crucial informations have been given by this Saras III telescope. Now understand this particular thing. You don't need to go too much into the technical details, because that way the information is not asked into our examination. Okay, so this is the way as how the Saras III telescope has relayed the information, and important article for the prelims as well as GS paper number 3. Now moving on in the next article. Canada says India a crucial partner, terms China an increasingly disruptive power. So this article is actually very important with respect to the India-Canada relations, as well as with respect to the Canada's crucial aspect of one foreign policy that they have announced. Okay, just before going in this particular article, guys, I'll tell you one thing, that around right now, around the world, the interest into the Indo-Pacific is increasing, and the different countries are coming out with their dedicated Indo-Pacific strategy. Earlier, the France has released a dedicated Indo-Pacific strategy, and now what has happened? Now the Canada has released the dedicated Indo-Pacific strategy. So this is something that we are going to discuss here in this particular article. Okay, so basically, Canada had said that Indo-Pacific is going to be a significant region, fine, and it is going to be a strategic region which will be crucial in taking up many of the decisions in the future. Okay, now guys, understand this thing. When we talk about the Indo-Pacific, fine, substantial trade by volume, fine, when we talk about the trade by volume, more than 80% of the trade by volume, it transitions to the Indo-Pacific. When we talk about Indo-Pacific connects the east with the west. Now when we talk about the east happens to be the world's biggest market. Okay, secondly, when we talk about the major gas pipelines, major oil pipelines, okay, they also depend on to the viability of the Indo-Pacific region. And right now we find that into the Indo-Pacific, China is trying to dominate, and therefore Indo-Pacific has become the region of contention. All the countries are showing a renewed interest into the Indo-Pacific. You can see even the quadrilateral security dialogue that has been there, it is oriented on Indo-Pacific. IPEF, fine, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, is focused onto the Indo-Pacific. Is it clear or not? Fine. So the Indo-Pacific has become a very important region, and Canada has recognized that thing. Canada had released the Indo-Pacific strategy, where China has directly termed as a disruptive global power, and to tame the China, this strategy has specifically focused. Now guys, obviously guys, understand that whenever the China and Indo-Pacific will be there, India will be the crucial partner for the countries who want to counter China. In the past, we have seen that the USA had come with the pivot to Asia, pivot to Indo-Pacific, and there also the India was called as a meaningful partner, and now the Canada has also called India as a crucial partner. The Canada wants to collaborate with the India at multiple platforms. The Canada wants to collaborate India in the areas of common interest, values, security. Canada wants to promote the democracy, pluralism, and human rights in the Indo-Pacific region by the help of India. Now, the Canada very clearly have provided this particular thing that the China is becoming more assertive day by day. China is trying to grow its influence into the entire region. We find this particular thing already since 2020. China is becoming more aggressive. And Canada is in the search of the meaningful partners into the Indo-Pacific region which can help Canada so that the Canada can tame the Chinese rise that is going on. Now, Canada want to increase the military engagement in this particular region and also wants the military strategic partners in this particular region. Now, the China says this particular thing that they want to also focus on intelligence capacity. Fine. So, there the regional security can be provided. Now, when we talk about India, India becomes a meaningful and a natural choice for all the countries. Why? Because number one, India's strategic, economic, and demographic importance is increasing. Now, when we talk about the strategic, obviously, guys, we are sitting at the head of the Indian Ocean, and because of that particular thing, India is in the commanding position. So, strategic importance is important. India is having the 7,500-kilometer coastlines, okay, which eventually opens up through the side of the Indian Ocean. So, we have strategic. Then, guys, India is one of the largest. Fine. When we talk about India, India stands at the 5th largest economy. Then the demographic importance, India is going to become the most populous country by 2023. So because of that particular thing, India becomes a crucial partner into the Indo-Pacific. Now, it has been provided that Canada, now this is the Indo-Pacific strategy of Canada that we are discussing. They have provided that they will be focusing on growing the economic ties, deeper trade and investment ties will be built with the India. And therefore, to take them forward, early progress trade agreement will be signed. Now, this early progress trade agreement, it is a comprehensive economic partnership. Early trade progress agreement will be signed, and eventually it will transform into the comprehensive economic partnership agreement, which will be a comprehensive relations which will cover the strategic relation, economic relation, military relation, people to people relation. So we eventually be focusing on to the comprehensive economic partnership, CEPA, but before that early progress trade agreement will be signed, fine, which is a kind of a very important thing for India and Canada relations. Then the Canada will also focus on people to people connect, investment, okay, which will bolster Canada and India relations. Now, in order to increase the people to people connect, China is saying that they will be giving enhanced and effective visas. Okay, so here it has been provided that Canada's visa processing capacity will be enhanced in New Delhi, Chandigarh. Fine. Canada will support more academic, educational, cultural, youth, research exchange programs. Then next thing. After that, the investment. On the investment front also, the Canada is going to help India. Specifically, Canada has announced a $2.3 billion investment package for the next 5 years for the Indo-Pacific region, which will specifically be focused on India. Now, Canada, first of all, is providing that it is planning to invest more than $720 million, which includes $492 million to reinforce Canada's Indo-Pacific naval presence. Okay, so they will increase their naval presence, and for that a specific funding will be given. Then they will be spending nearly $47 million, and a new multi-department initiative will be developed by which the Canada will help in enhancing the cyber security capacity in the regional partners, and the cyber security capabilities of India will also be enhanced by that. Then more than $900 million will be given for the clean future. Out of that, 750 million is to support sustainable infrastructure, find healthy and marine environment. For that also a specific funding has been given. So in total, more than $2.3 billion will be invested by Canada over the next 5 years. Is it clear or not? So this is something that has happened. Moreover, the Canada will specifically focus against illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing, and for that also more than $143 million will be invested. So in total, nearly $2.3 billion will be invested by the Canada to help all these particular initiatives. So guys, this is the entire summary of the Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy that has been launched, and as Indo-Pacific is becoming an important region over the years, this is something very important that has come. Okay. That is all guys about it, and now we'll move to the next article. Okay, before that, let's take if there are certain, if there are any comment, any doubts. Okay, meanwhile, good morning to everyone. Rajeshwari, Brena, Pushpendra, Asthita, Hardik, Sandeep, Suraj, Namami, Vignesh, Sahana, Pallavi, Shravan, Chanakya, Yasu, Trilochan. So grateful for helping us in understanding news analysis in early morning. Thank you, Persis, Pavan, Amani, Harshit. Okay, Pavirtan, Bijit, Priyanka, good morning. Okay, uh, good morning, sir. You may do one thing, you may put thumbnail in these videos, that would be beneficial. Okay, now thank you guys for the suggestions, and thank you so much for joining everyone. Okay, guys, moving on. Now, yes, India France discuss defense industrial ties, make in India. Okay, meanwhile guys, please like the video if you are liking the and if you are able to understand the analysis that we are discussing here, and if you are appreciating it. Now, India France discusses defense industrial ties. So basically guys, this particular article will see with respect to the India France relations, GS paper number 2. India France relations, India France relations, GS paper number 2, GS paper number 2. Now, before moving on in this particular article, guys, understand this particular thing, that India France shares a very special relation, particularly into the defense sector. You might already be knowing that we have procured the Rafale fighter jets from the France. Even in other arenas, for example, International Solar Alliance was a joint initiative that was launched by the India and France. So on climate, okay, on the defense ties, the India-France relations are very special. Now, recently what has happened, fourth India-France annual defense dialogue has been held. And in this fourth India-France annual defense dialogue, it was chaired by the defense minister of India, that is Mr. Rajnath Singh, and his French counterpart, that is the Sebastien Lecornu. Now, in this India-France defense dialogue, India-France defense dialogue, they have provided that how India and France relations are very crucial, okay, and what they are thinking on this particular line. Now, first of all, one additional point I want to tell you guys for the prelims examination. This particular year, France is also chairing the Indian Ocean Commission as well as the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. Now, Indian Ocean Commission and Indian Ocean Naval Symposium, here the India France cooperate, where the information is exchanged, okay, for the Indian Ocean region. Now, the India and France, they have discussed that how the France and India can take forward the industrial cooperation for the defense industry, defense industrial development, and how the France can help India in its make in India, particularly make in India for the defense sector. Now, the France has provided that on the co-production, opportunities will be given by the France to India. For example, guys, when we talk about the Rafale jets, in the Rafale jets also, fine, it has been provided that the technology transfer will be given, so that India can develop the, on the basis of the Rafale technology, India can develop the aircrafts into the coming time. So basically, all these particular things are fulfilling the make in India. So France is providing the technologies for the co-production, fine, is providing the know-how for the co-production to the India. Now, basically the ministers, the defense ministers, they have agreed that the technical groups will be formed from both the countries, and these technical groups will be meeting from next year, and these technical groups will take forward that how the defense co-production in India can be helped by the France. Now, the ministers have also reviewed the military to military cooperation, fine, which have increased substantially. Okay, one more thing guys, I have told you recently, just the last article that we have discussed, okay, we have seen this particular thing, that the Canada has launched the Indo-Pacific policy, and then the France has also launched the Indo-Pacific policy into the past. So basically, the convergence has actually increased a lot. Strategic defense issues, shared commitment, okay, in all these particular things, the India and the France are sharing. Now, the France has also acknowledged indigenous potential and the self-reliance of India. Moreover, when we talk about the India and France relations, see this particular thing, substantial exercises have also been carried between the India and France. And in this particular direction, we see this particular thing that the IMX 2022 exercise was held between the India and France in the March 2022. Then the Varuna exercise was held into the India and France. It went into the March and April. Then recently the Garuda has also been concluded at the Jodhpur Air Force Station. So there are many of the exercises fine which are happening. Then we are cooperating on to the technology transfer, defense basically onto the defense manufacturing we are collaborating. So these are the important things as how the France is helping the India. Fine. So guys, this is all about this fourth India France annual defense dialogue that has been held. So that is all guys about it, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Still a nightmare for domestic violence survivors. Still a nightmare for domestic violence survivors. Now this particular article will be taken up with respect to the GS paper number 2 as well as GS paper number 1. So GS paper number 1 as well as GS paper number 2, women and related issues. Women and related issues. Fine. Now basically guys, we have seen this particular thing in the news from past so many of the days, that a young woman was killed in Delhi by her living partner. And we on by this particular thing, we find that the women's violence in the intimate relations is very much high, and often the women are vulnerable in such kind of a relations. Now here we are going to discuss the provisions of the Domestic Violence Act 2005. We'll see that why the women are not encouraged, they are not reporting the abusive relations if they are involved in. Particularly into the Delhi's case, it is now also being found by the police that the woman, she was in abusive relation, and earlier also the person fine who is responsible, allegedly responsible for the murder, has given threats and have even harassed that woman. Now actually, the November 25 that has been passed, it is observed as the International Day for Elimination of all forms of violence against the women. Now, when we talk about the elimination of the violence against the women, we have already signed the CEDAW Convention, fine, Convention for Elimination of Discrimination against the Women. CEDAW Convention, okay, has already been signed. Now along with that, to conserve the rights of the women and to ensure that women are not vulnerable, we have also come out with the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. Now this particular act provides to the protection to the women from domestic violence, and it has enhanced the scope of the domestic violence. It doesn't includes only the physical violence, but includes the emotional violence, verbal violence, sexual violence, and psychological violence against the women. But we find this particular thing that though the law is existing onto the paper, but still large number of women are unable to access this particular law in the practice. This particular law is not properly implemented throughout the country, and most women are still vulnerable. If we take the data from the National Family Health Survey 5 2019-21, this particular data provides that there are the 32% of the women who between the age of 18 to 49 who have experienced the emotional, physical, or sexual violence which is committed by their husbands. Now this number 32% is actually a less number. Why? Because it doesn't capture the violence by other family members. It is specifically capturing the violence by the husbands. Okay, so if we take the violence by other members also, it will go up. Moreover, under reporting is also there, obviously, in most of the cases. Now further moving on, National Family Health Survey 5 also provides this particular thing. 14% of the women who have ever experienced domestic violence, they have sought the help. Just 14% of women, fine, they just ask for the help, find help from the police, help from some enforcement agency. So it means that the crimes are going unreported. Okay, and into the rural areas, the number of women asking for the help are actually even more lower. Now, researchers have provided that there are multiple factors. There are everyday realities, there are multiple factors which are responsible for women not accessing the help. There are the obstacles, there are the prejudices. Women often experience that if they will share their particular concern, the women will be held responsible. For example, why didn't you left earlier from a place? Suppose a woman have been sexually harassed when she was going from her job to the home. Okay, so it will be a question that why you didn't left earlier, why didn't you told somebody else about the violence earlier, okay, or why you were with that particular kind of a person. The women will be questioned. Moreover, women also believe that if they will share their problem, they themselves will become a problem and they will become a source of tension between the families. Okay, so now when we talk about, guys, the intimate violence or the domestic violence, women are not encouraged to come forward because they think that they will unnecessarily be seen as a troublemakers. Moreover, women often see that if they will report such kind of a matter, they will be held responsible for bringing shame, dishonor in the family. Moreover, Moreover, it has been provided that if the survivor's level of education is less, if the person is from the lower caste or the lower class, there is even less probability that they will report the matter and they will be coming forward and will ask the help. Then the migrant women, trans people, the women who are having the several sisters, or the women who are having the parents who are ill, who are very old or who are diseased, these women will actually not be coming. They will further be scared to come forward and to share their experiences. Why? Because they think that now they have a big and substantial responsibility that they need to retain the order in the family, and if the family is vulnerable, these women will not come and will bear the perpetuators violences. Now when we talk about the when it comes to asking the help, families even insist that the daughter should preserve the family environment, should be adjusting particularly with the husband even when the husband is abusive, and this particular matters are not being reported. In just the minority of cases, the daughter's welfare is given more importance, but other cases, daughters uh, daughters protections, daughters well-being is not given more importance. Now, and at the same time, the police is also not acting in the capacity where they were in what they were expected to act. For example, the police are sending the women back to the violent households, fine, to reconcile with the perpetrators. This is something that is happening, fine. Moreover, the several states, they have not implemented the provision of providing the protection officers. Okay, so they are not there, and again the women are prone to the harassment. So therefore, we find this particular thing that when we talk about today's society, in the patriarchal society, in the heteronormative society, where the heterosexual relations between the men and the women exist, and in this relation, when the women are at the subordinate positions, find women welfare, women well-being is often ignored, it is often negated. But we should not be continuing in this particular direction. There is an urgent need that the reforms are to be brought and reforms are to be implemented. So that is all, guys, about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. Loss and damage decision, pitfalls and promises. Okay, now this particular article will see, guys, with respect to the GS paper number 3, environment and ecology. Environment and ecology. Okay, now, so guys, this particular article is talking about the key takeaways from COP27. So recently we have seen that the COP27 got concluded in Egypt. COP27 got concluded in the Egypt. Okay, now basically, guys, as the COP27 has got concluded, there is one of the most important key takeaways from the COP27 that has been there. It is the creation of the loss and damage fund. The creation of the loss and damage fund. Now, what is this loss and damage fund? Loss and damage fund will be a specific fund that will be made available to the countries who are definitely going to face the damage because of the climate change that is happening. Now, I had given you this example earlier also, that suppose there is a coastal island, let's say there is a coastal country, or let's say there is an island nation. If the temperature rise will be there, obviously the sea level rise will also be there. Because of that, some of the tourist destinations might get submerged. If they get submerged, the economic value that was coming to that particular country will be lost. Fine, some countries agriculture will be impacted. Okay, so there are some economic damages that will come because of the climate change, and to make up for this particular damage, a specific loss and damage fund has been agreed, and it will compensate the most vulnerable countries, and the climate related disasters will be paid out of this loss and damage fund. Okay, now, guys, this particular fund, okay, now actually understand one thing: how much money will come, how much money will come, who will get the money, who will contribute in that particular money. All these particular things have not been finalized, and all these decisions have been left to a transitional committee that will be formed. Okay, and this transitional committee need to decide on this particular matter by the next year 2023, by before the COP28 that will be held into the UAE. So that is something that will happen before COP28. That particular thing will be discussed. Now the point is coming is that, guys, when we talk about this loss and damage fund, this loss and damage funds need was raised since 3 decades, and the small island nations, Vantau, us island nation, they have raised this particular funding's demand. But a question comes that when we talk about the loss and damage fund, will this particular fund be complied? Now you see this particular thing. When we talk about the climate finance, it was agreed in 2009 in Copenhagen that $100 billion annually will be given to the developing countries so that they can invest into the renewable energy, so that they can invest into the clean energies. So this loss and damage fund was envisaged, the climate fund was envisaged in 2009. Up till now, those $100 billion have not come. So though it has not been complied, how we can expect that this new fund, loss and damage fund, will be adhered to? So there is a lot of doubts on that particular thing. Moreover, guys, when we talk about this loss and damage fund, the funding arrangement, fine, will complement the existing arrangement, and the funding arrangement will include the funds, processes and initiatives under and outside the convention and the Paris Agreement also. Now this particular thing is already diluting the demands raised by the alliance of the small island states. Now they say this particular thing that this loss and damage fund should be a separate fund. Fine, it should not include the funds, processes and initiatives which are already being provided. Fine, this is something that was demanded. Now when we talk about, guys, the Alliance for the Small Island State, it is an intergovernmental organization of low-lying coastal island nations that is there. Then the next thing that is coming here is that now this decision recognizes the mitigation centric nature of the history of the climate change negotiations. Okay, now it has been provided that global average temperature should be restricted below 1.5 degrees Celsius, and it is essential for limiting the future loss and damage. So this is something that has been focused upon. But guys, multiple number of times it has been said that we are not on the path of achieving the 1.5 degrees Celsius climate goal. We are not in that particular path, though it is being repeated again and again. Now the article is talking about this particular thing, that in this particular entire climate change negotiations that are happening even in COP27, the developed countries, they have opposed for being made liable for this adverse effects. Now you see this particular thing. There is the principle of CBDR, that is the common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. As per this principle of the CBDR, it has been said that it is more of a responsibility of the developed nation that they have to contribute more if this climate change is happening. Now up till now, the developed countries have adhered to this CBDR and had given more money, had given more funding and had taken a bigger responsibilities. But now the developed countries don't seem very eager to continue on that particular line. Now they are not very much comfortable in giving the climate funding. They seems to be very hesitant. That is something that is coming. Now during the negotiations, fine, Alliance for Small Island States, they have been forefront at this loss and damage fund. Okay, and they have also tried, though they were unsuccessful, to include an international insurance pool, which will be a collective loss sharing scheme to compensate the most vulnerable low-lying islands. But that particular thing was not successful. Now when we talk about the international insurance pool, okay, now the international insurance pool, fine, obviously the money will be pooled there. Now before that, more research is to be done, that who amongst the emitters in the developed and developing countries should pay for that. For example, when we talk about the China, India, they are the biggest emitters right now. But if we talk about India particularly, the per capita emission of India is one of the lowest ones in the entire world. So India will be committing in that, or only the developed world countries should be providing the money in that? Now obviously the developing countries will use the CBDR principle. They say that there is a common but differentiated responsibilities. The responsibility of developed nation is more, so they should do that. But developed will say that no, will not do that because we are going and we have given already a lot of money in that particular thing. Okay. In Egypt, fine, that COP27, the Alliance for Small Island States, they have insisted onto this international insurance pool. Fine. They demanded the loss and damage fund. Fine, loss and damage fund has been developed, has been created, but how it will be funded, that is not up till now, which is decided. UN chief, fine, Antonio Guterres also advocated a windfall tax on the oil and gas companies' profit because they are making the profit onto the cost of the climate change. So their taxes are to be their taxes are to be used. Then the Germany has also backed the Global Shield scheme. Germany has also backed the Global Shield scheme against climate risk. Okay. Now this particular shield aimed at increasing the pre-arranged finance. Okay. Before the disaster happens, they say that before the disaster happens, the money should be given. This is something that has been there. So guys, these are some of the important initiatives that have come out of the COP27, but up till now, much development, much success has not been achieved because many of these things have not completely been decided. The loss and damage fund, transitional committee has not transitional committee will decide the matter. There the irritants will come. Germany has suggested the global shield, but on that also the how actually it will be operational, that is not very clear. Now moving to the next article. In India, calls for looking beyond the binary are growing stronger. Now this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 1 social issues, GS paper number 1 social issues, as well as in the GS paper number 2 social justice, as well as in the GS paper number 2 social justice. Okay. Now actually guys, from the past 3 days, on Saturday we have taken article, on Monday we have taken article, and now Tuesday again this particular article has come. Now we will, first of all I'll tell you a little bit of a background, though I have told you it earlier also, but revise it. So guys, basically we have seen this particular thing that the section 377 had decriminalized the section 377 originally, section 377 of IPC originally had criminalized the homosexuality, has criminalized the homosexuality. There were the multiple demands that the homosexuality rather should be decriminalized, and what happened in 2018, finally in the Navtej Singh Johar case, finally in the Navtej Singh Johar case, Supreme Court decriminalized the homosexuality. Supreme Court decriminalized the homosexuality. Now the civil activists, they are asking that as the homosexuality has been decriminalized, section 377 is decriminalized, now they should be allowed to get married also. It is a logical extension that they should be allowed to get married. Okay. And for that particular thing, they have filed the petition into the Supreme Court. Now the Supreme Court has asked the response of the center government in that particular direction. Okay. Though up till now center government has not shown much of a favor. Center government had said, number one, that Indian society is not ready to accept that. Secondly, center government is also saying that this is not a very urgent matter also. Now here we are going to see certain precedents from the other countries, that how they have dealt with this particular matter. So first of all, we have example of the South Africa. So in 2005, the Constitutional Court of South Africa had ruled that when the marriage is there, the word husband and wife should be replaced with the word spouse. And by that particular thing, they have tried to make the marriage laws gender neutral, and in a way they have indicated that the same-sex marriages should also be allowed. The Constitutional Court of South Africa directly directed their legislature that they have to create a law allowing the same-sex marriages. And after this particular verdict, Civil Union Act 2006 was enacted, fine, where voluntary union of two persons above the 18 years of age was allowed, and then the marriage is also allowed. After that, into the England and Wales also, the Marriage Same-Sex Couples Act 2013 has been passed, where the same-sex couples are allowed to get married. Civil ceremonies, okay, they can get married via religious rites also, that has happened. Then in 2005, the US Supreme the Supreme Court of the USA decided that the fundamental right to marry is guaranteed to the same-sex couples also. So therefore, around the world, the LGBT couples, they are being allowed to get married. Around the world, we have found this particular thing, that there are the unequal laws which discriminate against the LGBT people. They are not allowed to get married. Many times the adoption, fine, they are not favored in that particular thing. So today we need to transform the society, we need to make societies more equal, we need to make societies more inclusive. Now when we talk about, guys, marriage in the India, so in India there are the personal laws, fine. Now what are, now see, understand this particular thing. We have criminal laws. Under the, now the criminal laws are universalized. If there is a murder, then any person belonging to any religion, if had committed a murder, there will be the same punishment. Criminal laws are universalized. But when we talk about the civil laws, within the civil laws there are the personal civil laws, in which the religious communities, they have been given a right that they can come out with their own personal civil laws. And as of that, Hindus have different personal civil laws for the marriage, Muslims have different personal civil laws for the marriage. So for the Hindus, for example, we have the Hindu Marriage Act 1955. Then we have the Indian Christians Marriage Act of 1872 for the Christians. Then we have the Muslim Personal Law Shariat Application Act 1937 for Muslims. And under these acts, they all can get married. But in these acts, in these legislation, in these acts, basically the marriage is supposed to between the heterosexual people, that is a male and a female. Fine. Right now, basically what has happened, the same sex pure marriages are not recognized under these particular laws. However, there is a progressive judgment of the Madurai bench of the Madras High Court that has come. Now, basically what had happened, the Madurai bench have ruled this particular thing, that as per the Hindu Marriage Act of 1955, as per Hindu Marriage Act of 1955, the word bride will also include the trans women and intersex person. So therefore the LGBT people, find the trans women, okay, the intersex people, they can get married under the Hindu Marriage Act. This is a progressive thing that has happened. Now the point is this, that on this particular line, even this progressive thing should be extended, and even the same-sex couples should also be allowed. Now when we talk about the domain of marriages, now when we talk about the domain of marriages, though the marriage is a very important institution, but we need to reform this domain or this institution of marriage. Okay, now it has been provided that reform and review is needed. For example, the example of the self-respect marriages were given. Now self-respect marriages got legalized in the Tamil Nadu and then into the Puducherry. Now that happened only by the amendment into the Hindu Marriage Act. Now what are these self-respect marriages? So self-respect marriages, okay, they are converted as the part of the Dravidian movement, and in this particular marriage there will be no priest, there will be no religious symbols, there will be no fire or such kind of a things. Rather the marriage will be requiring just the exchange of the rings and the garlands and just tying the Mangal Sutra. Just by this particular thing, the marriage will be solemnized. There is no need of a priest, rituals and all such kind of a thing. And this kind of a marriage have been recognized into the Hindu Marriage Act. So what is happening? Over a period of time, we are trying to bring the reform. Okay, the caste-based practices have been broken down. Now it is time that even the homosexual marriages, they need to be considered in more of a humane way. This is the entire about this particular article. So guys, that is about it, and now we'll move to the next article. Center plans to document cultures, social practices of the indigenous tribal societies. Now this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, social justice. GS paper number 2, social justice. Okay, just a minute. Within the tribal issues, fine, this particular article will come, the social justice, the tribal issues, okay, as well as the cultural preservation also it will come. Now basically guys, what had happened, the national commission for scheduled tribes, fine, and the union government, now they are pushing that there should be the redocumentation of the culture and the social practices of the tribal societies. Now when we talk about, guys, the tribal communities, tribal societies, how they live, how they interact, what type of practices they follow, what are the social customs they follow, what are the social norms that they follow, all the knowledge that we have right now, it is on the basis of the colonial documents. It is on to the basis of the anthropologists that were during the time of the Britishers that we got the information. But sometimes this particular information can be biased. Sometimes this particular information might not be correct. Number one, at that point of a time, the methodologies were very much old, and in the Britishers, there were a distinct biasness also that was there for the Indians that were there. So basically, it is providing that Now we want to encourage more sociologists, anthropologists and researchers that they should do the research about the indigenous communities, about the tribal communities, about the cultures, fine, their cultures, their social, their historical practices that they are following. And for that particular thing we need to do the new researches. It has been provided that there are many practices which the tribals follows. For example, the way they treat the illnesses, how they make the weapons, how they protect the nature, and that particular knowledge can be very much crucial even for the mainstream communities today. So we need to do a kind of a fair analysis of such kind of an informations, and that particular information is to be provided into the public domain. Now, the President of India had also attended an event in this particular direction and had said that the knowledge of the tribal communities need to be included into the Indian knowledge system. It needs to also be included into the national education policy, and this particular knowledge can be the superpower, knowledge superpower of India. We can learn indeed a lot from our tribal communities, and that particular knowledge is to be propagated. Is it clear? So this is the National Commission for Scheduled Tribe that it is putting forward, that we need to understand the redocument. We need to redocument the tribal cultures and tribal histories. That is all, guys, about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Mumbai tops in sale of poll bonds, followed by the Kolkata Hyderabad most encashment in Delhi. So basically, guys, what had happened, an RTI appeal has been made. An RTI appeal has been made, and as a part of an RTI, the information has been asked about the sale of the electoral bonds. Now understand this particular thing, guys. You are not required to go and read every line, because these many thousand crore rupees bonds were bought at this place, fine. So those particular data, how many thousand crore rupees of bond at what place they are bought, not that much important, but the broad trends have been provided in this particular snapshot. So this snapshot is more than sufficient for this particular article. Snapshot is providing that the electoral bonds of more than 10,700 crore, fine, they have been sold since 2018. Okay, so nearly, we can say, just if we round off, nearly 11,000 crore rupees of electoral bonds have been sold since 2018, when the electoral bond scheme was announced. Out of that, we find this particular thing, that highest sale of electoral bonds have been recorded into the Mumbai. Okay, then the next thing is that Patna is the one where the lowest electoral bonds have been sold. Okay, then we have seen that the encashments of more than 10,767 crore electoral bonds have happened. Okay, so 10,791 were given and 67 have been redeemed. So more than 98-99% electoral bonds have been redeemed, and highest bonds have been encashed at the Delhi. Srinagar recorded the lowest encashment of just 50 lakh rupees. So these are the broad trends of the electoral bond which have been given by an RTI response. Now you don't need to go and you don't need to just read that, okay, how many bonds, okay, were there and all such kind of an information. So this is all, guys, about it. And now the electoral bond schemes is being questioned again and again. Just I think we have seen 3-4 articles already into the past few days. When we talk about the electoral bonds, guys, understand this particular thing, that into the electoral bond there is a lot of issues that have come into the past few days. What has happened? The Supreme Court has also has accepted the petition that the electoral bond scheme is bringing the anonymous funding. Okay, so therefore that electoral bond scheme has come into the news as well. Now moving to the mains practice question for today. So the mains practice question for today, it reads: a progressive legislation, Protection for Women from Domestic Violence Act, was passed to support and protect women from violence. But despite the law existing on paper, women are still largely unable to access the law in practice. Analyze. Okay, so guys, this will be a question for the GS paper number 2, Social Justice Women, and you need to write a 10 marker answer for this. So that is all, guys, about it, and with this we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. And guys, now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves, and if you have liked the video, please do hit the like button, because guys, I am telling you this particular thing again and again, that the survival of this particular initiative only depends on your support. Okay, so please do support the initiative if you